Columbia Institute of Technology acknowledges that our campuses are located on the unceded traditional territories of the Coast Salish nations of Musqueam, Squamish, and Tsleil-Waututh.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is James Ngo, and these are your 1:30 headlines. BC Premier David Eby says a recent agreement advancing wood construction in China will deliver results from the forestry industry in British Columbia. In a speech at the BC Natural Resources Forum in Prince George, Eby said it will take time, energy, and commitment to create a sustainable industry. A 5-year agreement between the Forest Ministry and the Chinese government signed last week boosts the research, development, and promotion of modern wood construction in China, with the goal of diversifying markets. Eby says his government has been fighting on multiple fronts, including tackling what he calls long-standing structural permitting issues. A British Columbia man has been sentenced to 5 years in prison for sex crimes involving a minor he met over Snapchat. RCMP say 33-year-old Dylan Caleb Partanen of Surrey pleaded guilty last week to charges including possession of child sexual exploitation material. Police say his online interactions led to Partanen traveling to Campbell River, BC in April 2024 to meet the youth and commit the offenses. A judge has sentenced him to 5 years in prison. The Hollywood Theater brought embroiders and fans of Jane Austen together for Craft Club Cinema. Reporter Emma Bolsner has more on the event.
Dozens showed up to the Hollywood Theater for a screening of Pride and Prejudice last night. Participants learned how to embroider Regency-era patterns before settling in to watch the film on the big screen. Hollywood staff member Christy Goodwill shares why the theater decided to put on this event for the second time.
It's been nice. It's been like a nice way to just like draw a different audience into the theater and try something different and fun and creative. It's rare that people come out with just like their own craft and sit by themselves. It's usually people like coming out to socialize and do that, which is really like, it's a lot of fun.
The Hollywood hopes to bring back Craft Club Cinema again in February. Emma Bolsner, BCIT News.
Vehicle access to a Metro Vancouver island has been cut off after its only bridge to other communities was closed due to an incident involving a marine vessel. The city of Delta says the unspecified incident Tuesday evening has forced the emergency closure of West Ham Island Bridge. The city says West Ham Island residents should still call 911 if they need urgent assistance. Delta Councillor Dylan Kruger shared a photo on social media showing splintered timbers on a structure under the bridgeway. Transit Authority TransLink says damage assessments and repairs are underway. 2 former Progressive Conservative Justice Ministers are among more than 30 lawyers speaking out against Alberta's government for what they say is unacceptable conduct. In a letter published this week, the lawyers say they're concerned recent legislation and public attacks on the justice system are undermining democracy. Among the signers are former Justice Ministers Ken Rostad and Verlin Olson. Olson says one of his biggest concerns was the government's recent move to shield past and future justice ministers from being sanctioned by the Provincial Law Society. Current Justice Minister Mickey Amory says the government is committed to making sure the democratic process is fair and trustworthy. Authorities in Regina say a police chase in the city earlier this week ended with the discovery of a man's body. Police say it is the city's first homicide of 2026. They say officers tried to stop a vehicle on Monday, but it was later followed by the police's aerial support unit. Everyone inside the vehicle fled the scene by the time officers were able to catch up to it. Officers found a man's body after the vehicle was searched. Police say the man's death is considered a homicide. Ontario Premier Doug Ford is reiterating his disappointment with Prime Minister Mark Carney's deal with China on electric vehicles. Ford held a news conference with Canadian auto sector officials today to amplify his message that a deal to bring over 49,000 Chinese-made EVs is bad for Canadians.
I've been clear about my concerns with this deal. By opening up our country to a flood of cheap, made-in-China vehicles, the federal government is asking Canadian auto workers to compete on unfair ground.
Carney made the deal last week with China in exchange for dropping tariffs on Canadian canola and some seafood. After wrapping up his 9-day tour around the world, Prime Minister Mark Carney is heading back to Ottawa today. He's expected to get straight to business before Parliament resumes next week. Carney will be traveling to Quebec City tomorrow for 2 days of private meetings with his cabinet that'll focus on the economy, affordability, and security. They'll be discussing progress on the priorities laid out in their mandate letters and make plans for delivering change this year. A Canadian man who posed as a commercial pilot and flight attendant is accused of carrying out his own real-life version of the film Catch Me If You Can. Court documents say 33-year-old Dallas Pokornik used fake employee ID to pose as a pilot and get free flights on 3 other airlines. The hundreds of free rides are alleged to have happened over 4 years, and in one case, Pokornik allegedly asked to ride in an extra seat in the cockpit. The indictment did not identify the airlines, and Air Canada says it has no record of Pokornik working for the carrier. U.S. President Donald Trump is insisting that he wants Greenland, but won't use military force to do so. In an extraordinary speech at the World Economic Forum, the president said he was asking for, quote, a piece of ice that was poorly located. He also made a false claim that the U.S. gave Greenland back to Denmark after World War II.
Then after the war, which we won it big. Without us, right now you'd all be speaking German and a little Japanese, perhaps. After the war, we gave Greenland back to Denmark. How stupid were we to do that? But we did it. But we gave it back. But how ungrateful are they now?
Trump now says that he has canceled the terror threat over Greenland, saying that NATO agreed to a framework of a future deal. Iranian state TV has issued its first official death toll from recent protests. Iran states that 3,117 people were killed during the month-long protests and subsequent crackdowns. The United Nations has listed the death total at 4,560 people. Iran has repeatedly blamed the U.S. and Israel for allegedly arming protesters. Nathan's Famous has been sold to packaged meat giant Smithfield Foods for a $400 million all-cash deal. Smithfield, which has held rights to produce and sell Nathan's products in the U.S., Canada, and Mexico, will acquire all of Nathan's outstanding shares for $102 each. Nathan's Famous originally opened as a 5-cent hot dog stand in Coney Island more than a century ago. For your weather update, we have reached today's high of a mere 5 degrees. The sky will remain clear until the evening, where clouds will slowly settle in up until tomorrow morning. So those are the news headlines, but we still got sports to cover, so please stay with us. Starting in hockey, the Vancouver Canucks will be holding their 9th annual Pride Night game against the Washington Capitals. The game will feature a Pride celebration market hosted by several hockey inclusion groups. The Canucks look to snap an 11-game losing streak, with their last win coming back on December 20th against the Boston Bruins. Head coach Adam Foote says the veterans on the team need to change their mindset.
If a call comes down our way, or we have one bad shift, or they get the first goal, or in the second, we cannot go rogue. We cannot get the defeated feeling and get frustrated. That lingers here. And if they want to win and be more consistent, they got to get it out. And it starts with our vets.
Both sides will have players returning from injury today, forward Teddy Bluger for Vancouver and forward Tom Wilson for Washington. In basketball, the Toronto Raptors play the second of back-to-back games, this time against the Sacramento Kings. The Raptors defeated the Golden State Warriors last night 145-127. Toronto remains at 4th in the Eastern Conference with a 26-19 record. Tip-off is at 7 p.m. New Canadian research is pitching ideas for how to make the Winter Olympics and Paralympics more resilient to climate change. It builds on recent research co-authored by the University of Waterloo's Daniel Scott, who says snowmaking, despite its water and energy demands, will be critical to the future of the Games.
Even a place that is normally climate reliable like Salt Lake City, this year, if you've seen the snow conditions out there, they're struggling. So if their games happened this year, it would be a challenge for them. So, doing away with snowmaking, it makes about as much sense as moving hockey back outside. We just wouldn't do it. So you have to focus on the sustainability part of it.
Canada's Abigail Strait has earned a bronze medal in the Women's Ski Jumping World Cup. The Calgary native scored 222.3 points in the normal hill event for her fourth World Cup medal of the season. She earned a gold medal and 2 silver medals in large hill earlier in the season, which makes its debut at the Milan Cortina Games. The 24-year-old straight is set to make her second Olympic appearance in February in Italy. In tennis, Toronto's Victoria Mboko punched her ticket to the third round of women's singles at the Australian Open. Mboko won in 2 sets against American Katie McNally, ending the match in a little over 90 minutes. On the men's side, Denis Shapovalov hopes to advance to the third round tonight against Marin Cilic. His match starts at 8 p.m. In golf, former world number 1 golfer Rory McIlroy believes that the PGA Tour and LIV Golf have grown too far apart to form an alliance. McIlroy was speaking ahead of the Dubai Desert Classic on the European Tour when he was asked about reunification between the two sides.
I don't see a world in where the 2 or 3 sides, or whoever it is, will give up enough. Like, for reunification to happen, every side is going to feel like they'll have lost, where you really want every side to feel like they've won. And I just don't think, I think they're just too far apart for that to happen.
Brooks Koepka's return to the PGA Tour from LIV has brought into sharper focus the fading hopes of any form of deal being struck by the two sides. The Calgary Stampeders have signed star defensive lineman Clarence Hicks to a 3-year contract, preventing him from hitting free agency. The 27-year-old was a West Division All-Star and Calgary's nominee for Outstanding Defensive Player in 2025. He had a team-leading 12 sacks, 28 tackles, 2 forced fumbles, and 6 knockdowns in 18 games last season. He has 42 defensive tackles and 16 sacks in his career. That's all for now. Thank you so much for listening. Once again, I'm James Ngo, and you're listening to BCIT's The Crow.
Stay tuned for more on BCIT's 1680 The Crow.
When I tell people that I studied journalism, they immediately say, oh, you want to be a reporter. But I think, in my case personally, I really want to go into magazines, PR, social media, and I think here at school we learn a lot of skills that allow you to go into that world, because you learn how to write for social media, social content, for websites,